popping up around Modesto, Turlock, around our communities. These signs that say "Worth Your Fight." We've got them on the back table. We've got the pamphlets. And this is an issue that is vital to everybody in our region, because what we have is an instance where the State Water Resources Control Board, this is a 5-member appointed board appointed by the governor of California. And we're starting to see in California what the results are when you have a liberal establishment that's sort of taken over in California, and the policies and the direction that those policies go. Well, the State Water Board issued a new proposal as part of the Bay Delta plan that they say is going to benefit the Delta to essentially bankrupt our communities. And the way they're doing that is through what they call the unimpaired flow proposal in a substitute environmental document. Now, that's a lot of funny words, so let's sum it up. Right now, we're on the Tuolumne River. That's where Modesto and Turlock irrigation districts get our water through Don Pedro Reservoir. Right now, we operate the reservoir at what we call unimpaired flow. Unimpaired flow is if there's no dam, whatever rains, whatever snows, it gushes down the river. That's 100% unimpaired. We operate the Tuolumne River at about 17% unimpaired flow. That means we're allowed to capture about 83% of that water during a normal year, whatever that amount is. The state's proposal that came out, they plan on voting on this in February or March of next year, would make us up that number to 40%. That means more than double the amount of water we put down the river. That means gut the amount of water that we have in our reservoir. Last year, 2015, was the 4th year of the drought. It was one of the hardest years of the drought ever for the Modesto and Turlock irrigation districts. Modesto Irrigation District, a full allotment to our growers, is 42 inches of water per acre. Last year, we were at 16. If this state proposal had been in effect, that number would have been 0. The year before, we were at 24 inches. We would have only had a meager amount of water. It would have put most everybody out of business. Their plan not only affects the Tuolumne, but it's the Stanislaus, Tuolumne, and Merced rivers. Between these 3 communities, and the irrigation districts and the counties who have done the research and investigation on it, if this plan goes into effect, there will be 240,000 acres of farmland that would be fallowed. They're putting agriculture out of business. And they're putting our communities out of business in turn. When you look at agriculture in Stanislaus County, we were the 7th largest agricultural county in the nation. $4.4 billion in farm gate value. That's without a multiplier. That's without rolling those dollars around in our community. If this state plan was in effect last year in those communities, on top of the impacts of the drought, we would have seen an additional $1.6 billion hit to our communities. That would have been $167 million in farm gate value. That would have been an additional 6,500 lost jobs in our communities. That doesn't take into consideration the impact on property values. Right now, when you talk about water, and specifically farmland in California, if you go and try and buy farmland within the boundaries of an irrigation district, you will pay significantly higher prices for that land than outside of an irrigation district, specifically with an MID or TID, because we've always had secure sources of water. Once the state takes that water, there goes your property value. If the property values are drastically decreased, what happens to your property taxes? They go down significantly. What happens to the money and the services the county provides? We had the sheriff who is here. It's been great seeing him giving presentations around how the sheriff is able to add new deputies. They're bringing people in. The department is back growing. Forget that. We'll go back to the way it was several years ago when everyone's talking about drastic department cuts. And the reason they can do this is they are a 5-member regulatory body. They are not elected. They are appointed, and they have no oversight. Now is the time for this community to get involved and step up in front of the state and say, we are not going to stand for the taking of a resource that belongs to the people of these communities. They're taking this water in the name of fish. The argument is that we need 40% of that water to protect juvenile salmon as they are trying to return to the Delta. The problem is the state of California cannot produce a single shred of evidence or study that shows more water equals more fish. Why can they not produce that? Because it doesn't exist. Over the last few years of the drought, we saw homeowners in cities get reduced in our municipalities, our water supply get cut. We saw farmers get drastically reduced allotments. The environment was made whole, or in some instances received more water than normal. Fish numbers still declined. If more water equaled more fish, we would have seen that already. To the adverse, the MID and TID have done numerous studies and spent millions of dollars on the Tuolumne River system to figure out what would fix the problem. Because as we look for solutions in this, we cannot make this a fish versus farmers fight, because this isn't just fish versus farmers, this is fish versus everybody in our communities. And the fact is, if we do want to see salmon numbers return, there are factual things that we can do to benefit the river system to get a quantifiable result. We can improve gravel stream beds and habitat restoration. There are projects that are done on rivers across the United States to do stream bed restoration and spawning grounds, and it's easy, quantifiable results. Before the stream bed project was there, what was your survival rate of juvenile outgoing salmon, and what was it after? You can actually put a number to it. We know what we can do. The number one factor in 2012, MID and TID did a predation study on the Tuolumne River. We actually put little transmitters in baby salmon and followed them through the river system to the mouth of the delta. 97% of the transmitted salmon were eaten by bass. 97% loss due to predator species on the Tuolumne River. We can prove it. We did the study. We have the evidence and science to back it up. The state said, no, that's not really the case. The best evidence they got was from Fish and Wildlife when they said that the reason more flow equals more fish is because if there's more water in the river, there's more places for the little baby salmon to swim away and hide from the bass. There's no study to back that up. There's no evidence, just an anecdote. I don't think we should be basing government regulation on unscientific anecdotes, especially when they have the repercussions of this flow proposal. So the districts are out there pushing and asking for help. To look at this Worth Your Fight campaign, we have pamphlets in the back. There's a frequently asked question sheet. There's a facts of how it's going to impact our communities and what we can do to turn it around. It was brought up earlier about groundwater. I want to touch on groundwater for an instant to tell you about how clueless our liberal-led state government is. This plan will take away our surface water. That water in Don Pedro that belongs to us goes away. The state of California identifies in the entire Central Valley only 2 groundwater subbasins that are not listed in critical overdraft. You hear all about California, groundwater levels are dropping, land is subsiding. There are only 2 subbasins not in critical overdraft. The Modesto subbasin and the Turlock subbasin. The only 2. With this plan, we won't have the surface water that has allowed us to not overpump. So the result will be more pumping, which means they will take the only 2 subbasins that are not in critical overdraft and put them in critical overdraft. Meanwhile, a year ago, the state legislature passed the Sustainable Groundwater Management Act, where they said, we do not want to impact groundwater. We need to have plans in all of these subbasins. We need to form groundwater sustainability agencies by the year 2019 in all of these groundwater subbasins to make sure we are not overpumping our groundwater. So you have a legislative body saying, don't touch the groundwater. A regulatory body saying, we're going to take away your surface water supply. We asked them, why isn't groundwater accounted for in your plan? They said it is. Look at this line right here. There will be significant yet unavoidable impacts to groundwater. So what are we left supposed to do in our region? Amy talks about working with the city of Turlock and working with the mayor to find a water treatment plant to bring quality, treatable surface water to the city of Turlock and Ceres. That will not happen under this plan. Currently, the city of Modesto gets about 50% of their drinking water from the Modesto Irrigation District. The contract with the city of Modesto says however much the farmers get cut, the city gets cut by the same amount. If the farmers are losing water, the city of Modesto is losing water, which means water quality goes down. For those people who have children who attend rural schools, what is your supply of water for those schools? It's groundwater. What happens when the groundwater level starts dropping? The quality becomes really poor. This is a water quality issue for our children in schools. This is an issue that cannot go away. And I'll wrap it up with this thought of why this is worth your fight. Don Pedro Reservoir, where we get our water, is the 6th largest reservoir in California. It is the largest reservoir in California that was built without primarily state or federal funds. It cost $124 million to build Don Pedro Reservoir. $3 million came from the Army Corps of Engineers. The rest came from the ratepayers of the Modesto and Turlock irrigation districts, as well as the city and county of San Francisco. Now let me remind you, the city and county of San Francisco paid for 51% of the construction of Don Pedro. They do not own a drop of water in it. The MID and TID are the senior water rights holders on the district. San Francisco wanted to build reservoirs upstream, but if you build upstream, you take our water. We are senior to San Francisco. So in order for them to build upstream, the deal was we will pay for 51% of the construction of your new dam, and we don't own a drop of water in it. So when we talk about why this is worth your fight, that is our water from our communities that the people who were here before us paid for, that we continue to pay for. And I don't know about you guys, but it is worth my fight to make sure the state does not come in and take it.
So what do you want us to do?
I want you to go and take these papers that are on the back, take signs, go to our social media, go to worthyourfight.org, tell your friends, tell your neighbors, tell the people at your church, tell the people at your schools. This message has to get out, and then on the website there is a place to sign a petition, to sign up what else you're willing to do. There will be a hearing. The State Water Board will be holding a hearing somewhere in the Modesto area on November 4th. We need everybody in our communities to show up at that hearing, and we will hold a giant water rally and show the regulators in Sacramento that we will not stand for actions of a few people who have no, if I make a mistake as an elected official, you can vote me out. There is no political recourse to remove them from office. We need to show them that what they're doing is wrong and make them feel the embarrassment that is deserved for putting forth a plan that will bankrupt our communities. So we need people to sign up, get on an email list, spread the word, contact us at MID or TID. We'll be willing to come out to your community groups, give talks, give you pamphlets and brochures. This is a vital issue that is one of the most important issues to face our community in a long time that nobody knows about. We need people to know about it. Yes?
I think Kristen Olson sent information out in the spring you were supposed to call.
Right.
I did.
Part of that was in the springtime, we were waiting on this plan to come out.
Okay.
The State Water Board has been sitting on this plan for 4 years. For 4 years. After a year, they said, we're going to release this plan. Then they pushed it back 6 months, another 6 months, another 6 months. We were expecting it to come out in February or March. They finally released it about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. So we just now finally got the plan. After 4 years of them working on it, they have a 60-day comment period. That's part of the argument that we're making to the state, is a 60-day comment period on a plan of this proportion is uncalled for, and it needs to be extended to at least 120.
Is there something on the ballot?
There's nothing on the ballot. This is a regulatory action. It will be decided upon by 5 people.
All right.
You can tell I get a little bit excited, but you should too.
You did a great job.